I'd like to welcome you to today's APASA Cafe, our monthly colloquium featuring cutting-edge Anabaptist scholarship. Thanks for joining us for today's presentation with now Nomura, Fulbright scholar and associated with the University of Massachusetts, who will be speaking with us today about Amish fashion and women's agency in that realm in a talk titled Amish Vogue, Performing Fashion in the Plain World. To begin, I'd like to thank Andrea Waxmunsky, an integral member of our APASA Scholarship Committee. She's the one that manages the technology to make this event possible, and we are so grateful for that. For those of you joining us for the first time, please save your questions for the end of the presentation or feel free to put them in the chat. Our presenter is going to be speaking for about half an hour, and that should allow us plenty of time for questions and discussion afterwards. And if you do participate in the conversation after the presentation, your questions and comments will be recorded, and those recordings will be available to our members on our new website, and you can check that out as well as access previous APASA cafes if you're interested at amishstudies.org. And if you're joining us by phone, we would like to ask, and you would like to ask a question, you can unmute by pushing the star and the number 6. Star 6 will unmute you. So that's all I have to say. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's presenter, now Nomura. Thank you for being here today and for sharing your work with us.
Well, thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me today. My Noma is now Nomura. Thank you, Alex. To my talk height, comma, I would like to practice my Pennsylvania Dutch a little bit. I don't have many chance to talk in Dutch. So again, my name is now Nomura. I am an associate professor of American Studies at Saitama University, Japan, located just north of Tokyo. I am currently living in Boston as a Fulbright visiting scholar at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, excuse me. Today, I would like to share my research on Amish fashion based on more than 10 years of ethnographic fieldwork conducted in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I don't think I need to explain who the Old Order Amish are to the APASA Cafe audience, so let me start by explaining how I became interested in Amish dress as a form of fashion rather than a mere expression of Amish faith. My host family and who I lived with during my field work, it's a family of 7, 5 the husband and wife and 5 children, 3 daughters and 2 sons. And when I started my field work, I was hoping to explore Amish quilt making within the community, for the community and for themselves rather than for the tourist market. But soon after I moved in with them, I learned that my primary informants, the wife and the wife's siblings and friends in their early to mid-30s, from who I hoped to learn about quilts, were too young to be making quilts. The long tradition of gifting quilts to adult children, especially upon marriage, is still well kept in Amish culture, but my informant's children were just too young to be getting married at the time. So what do I do now as a graduate student who had just begun research, geared with books and lots of questions that I wanted to ask? I felt really hopeless because I wasn't going to find a lot about quilts from my close informants. So, I had rare opportunities to learn about Amish culture from my generous host family, who allowed me to participate in many activities, family activities and church activities. For example, I was invited very early on, I was invited to a surprise party, which involved more than 10 families. And a big party like that was organized without directly talking to each other on the phone, but instead they left voicemail to each other to decide who does what. And I thought I had read major academic publications on the Amish, but many details about their everyday practices, like the surprise party, were not discussed in those books. So this is a picture of my host family's kitchen showing a teenage daughter working in the kitchen and a preschool daughter lying on the floor reading a picture book. And I want to make sure that all these pictures were taken with their permission, but for to protect their privacy, all the faces are blurred. So I just wanted to emphasize on that. So going back to my talk, I decided to spend as much time as possible with the family, mostly the wife and the children, to learn about their culture. One of the first opportunities to participate in Amish daily activities was fabric shopping on a very beautiful summer day at a popular fabric store in Lancaster County. Amish everyday living cannot avoid consumption just like ours. The mother needed to get some fabric for winter clothes for the family. The oldest daughter, who had just finished her 8th grade education, wanted to make a new dress for herself. As we were getting ready to go out, I noticed that both of them, the mother and the daughter, changed their dresses. Why did you change your dress? I asked them because to a novice ethnographer, their clothing looked exactly the same except for a few color variations. And the mother answered, I don't know, it was old-fashioned, I guess. Sleeves were a little too short too. In a society where the design of the clothing are determined by the church, what does old-fashioned mean? Is there fashion in Amish culture? I began to question. In my talk today, I would like to examine Amish dress to explore how the old order Amish women, particularly the young ones, express themselves through clothing. In contrast to the stereotypical image of the Amish, they are very conscious of what they wear and demonstrate individual taste through clothing as well as trends among their peers. The set of rules that strictly regulates Amish living, as you know, or ordnung, determines the overall style of their clothing, but each dress shows subtle differences in details. In Amish fashion, which I call Amish Vogue, consists of these 3 elements: sleeve cuffs, bodice closure and neckline, and fabric options. Amish women manifest individuality through their dresses, which appear identical at first sight, but I argue that old order Amish women in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, embrace fashion and express personal style within the constraints of their church. Before going to details of Amish fashion, let me explain the basics of Lancaster Amish women's dress, which many of you might be familiar with. They wear an ankle-length dress that closes in the front. This picture doesn't show the front, but it closes in the front with snaps or straight pins. There are 2 plaits on the front and 6 in the back with a small peplum called the leplich, which has no functional purpose, but serves as a symbol that women's body should be covered. And in this picture, Amish youth are dressed in formal attire, which they wear for social gatherings, Sunday family visits, weddings, and church. They wear a cape, which is tucked with straight pins to give a little shape, as you can see if, for those of you joining with the screen, you can see that it's tucked here and it gives a shape around the shoulder. And some fashion conscious young women wear pearl-headed pin, like the ones shown here, to secure the cape to the dress around the neckline here at this triangle. None of them uses these pearl-headed pin. I think they just use straight silver straight pins, but you will see young girls wearing these pearl-headed pins. Functional, but yet it gives a little decoration. And these illustrations show different designs of Amish women's dresses in different geographic regions. As you can see, it is quite diverse design-wise. I am very familiar with the Lancaster Amish dress, and I'm curious if or how Amish women in other communities embrace fashion. So let's go back to the fabric shopping. Here you are seeing a picture of the inside of an Amish fabric store. This store is one of the largest fabric stores in the area that attracts not only local people, but also customers from neighboring states, such as Delaware and Maryland. At the fabric store, the teenage daughter, the oldest daughter, seemed to be at a loss, and I didn't know why. She wanted a purple fabric, but was not sure which one to choose. And indeed, as you can see, the store was filled with rows upon rows of colorful and not so colorful fabrics. Polyester fabrics, indeed. Amish wear polyester. When polyester fabrics became available in the 1950s, Amish women started buying right away the newly available synthetic fabric because it was easy to care for. It washes easily, does not require ironing, and it dries fast. So a household where there's no public electricity, that was very important. And the Amish girl who was shopping for her fabric said, "There are so many choices here. I just don't know which one I like the best. I think I want a kind of lavender, but I'm not sure. I like this dark purple too. It's almost like eggplant color. What do you think?" She asked me for my opinion as she compared one type of fabric to another in different shades of purples. It was evident that she knew a lot about the fabrics, what kind of fabrics are popular, which fabrics get wrinkled after laundry, which fabrics feel cool in summer and warm in winter, and the list goes on. After going back and forth to different aisles, she finally decided on dark purple fabric with a wrinkly texture. Then she carefully selected thread that perfectly matched her fabric by putting several different spools against the dress material. Despite the strict church regulations, the older Amish women make careful and deliberate decisions for their dresses. As I continued my field work, I began to notice differences among women's dresses. Where's fashion in their plain dress, you might ask? Amish women, especially young women, whether single or married, make their fashion statement in details such as sleeves, necklines, bodice closure, and colors and types of fabrics. In this picture, a preteen Amish girl is watching her mother making a dress. Like her, Amish girls start learning how to make a dress from their mothers around the time they finish their formal education at the age of 14 or 15, just like the teenage daughter who we went shopping with. These manila envelopes keep patterns for different clothing items by size. Dress patterns are often exchanged among siblings and friends. And this one says 14 to 15-year-old, 15-year bib apron. And this envelope has size 14 pounds from the mother's friend. The envelope has her name on it, that you can, it's blurred, and used for her son, 11 and a half year. So women's dresses. This picture shows the wardrobe of the oldest daughter of my host family. What do you notice in these beautiful solid color dresses? Here's another part of her wardrobe. If you look carefully, you will see that each dress has a slightly different design in the sleeve cuffs, which serve as a creative canvas for Amish seamstresses. Bow-like design, pleats, a tucked, pleated, and the list again goes on. And this is a dress that's about halfway done. One afternoon, the oldest daughter was making a dress with this fabric in beautiful sky blue color that she had just bought. And she goes, "Let me know if you have good ideas for sleeves. I am always looking for new designs for sleeves." She said as she carefully formed a bow-like design by tucking a box pleat in the cuff and pinching the center of the pleat with a matching colored thread. In addition to the bow-like element, like I showed you earlier, pleated or gathered ruffles that ripple around the sleeves are also popular around the arms, are also popular. Small brass buttons or charms may embellish the cuff to give a subtle accent. And those who have access to a state-of-the-art computerized machine might add intricate floral foliage or geometric stitches to the dress. Although it is not as distinct as sleeve variations, the neckline and bodice closure of the dress are another focus for Amish fashion. The bodice is often covered under the bib apron or the cape, so it is only noticeable when paired with the waistband apron. But about 15 or so years ago, fashion-conscious young women began to seam the front bodice in the center instead of fastening it with the snap buttons. The picture on the right shows the center seamed front bodice that creates a flat, clean line while imitating the appearance of the conventional style. So it looks like it has opening, but it really doesn't. But it sort of imitates the conventional style that's shown on the left picture, which is fastened with snap buttons. The problem is with this new seamed bodice is that it requires a lower neckline in order to slip the dress over the head. And because the Amish believe that women's bodies should be covered for modesty, some parents frown on this new bodice design at the beginning. When my host family's daughter first wanted a dress with a seamed bodice, her mother was not happy with it. But finally she gave in and made one for her 17th birthday. After the first one, the daughter made more dresses with the seamed front bodice herself, so it didn't take long that this new bodice style or technique took on in her wardrobe. Amish women rarely consume ready-to-wear dresses, but they themselves produce their own fashion that they feel good about within the constraints of their society. And again, in this picture, this young mother wears the dress with the front bodice seamed together, like you can see here. So it really creates flat surface, which they like. She deliberately used the raw edge of the fabric for the sleeve cuffs here. For those of you who can see the picture, she used the raw edge to give them a different look. She also made a matching dress with the same square neckline. So she used the square neckline, which is quite unique for her daughter. She is this young mother. She's probably one of the most fashion conscious Amish women that I met during my field work. I went to many shopping trips with her to places like antique shops, flea markets, and shopping malls. She would sometimes buy sweatshirts or sweaters for her young children at popular brands such as Gap and H&M. She often reads mainstream interior design magazines, which may be a few months or sometimes a few years old, to get ideas for her home decoration. And just to show you how fashionable she is, I am showing you pictures of her guest bedroom. It was taken several years ago, so I imagine that she has redecorated the room by now with more new designs or new fashion. She has a very good taste in all sorts of things and always has new ideas for home decorations, dresses, and card making and things like that. So I have talked about the sleeve cuffs and necklines where Amish women make their fashion statement. In addition to these details, fabrics, of course, show one's sense of style. Especially for Amish teenagers, picking the right fabric is very crucial. Stretchy double knit fabric are considered so old-fashioned, like grandma's dresses. They know what is in style. This fabric is very popular. It has been around for a couple of years, they would say. Textiles with a wide array of colors, patterns, textures, weaves, and weights are available on the Amish fashion market more than you imagine. So here in this picture, I am showing just a few samples of dress fabrics that can be purchased at most Amish fabric stores. If you look at them closely, even solid color fabrics can have subtle patterns like plaids in these top ones here, if you can see the image, and stripes like these two. And the screen may not show very well, but the bottom left black fabric is patterned with, has floral patterns. So what looks like a simple solid dress can have these variations when you pay close attention. New materials certainly constantly attract Amish consumers who are particular about their clothes and sometimes even get them into trouble. Although there are no written guidelines for colors, if the color is too bright or too fancy, church authorities will talk to them about their dress. So in this way, church authorities define and redefine their judgment as new colors and materials become available on the market. In addition to homemade dresses, Amish wear commercially available accessories, including solid color scarves shown in this picture. This scarf is, this is actually mine, embroidered with a fancy computerized sewing machine by an Amish woman for a small fee. Many young Amish girls purchase solid color scarf or bandanas, as they would call it, and sometimes have it custom embroidered, just like mine, with their favorite design to a local Amish woman who has a fancy sewing machine for a few dollars, maybe $5 or $7. Maybe it's gone up by now a little bit. There are countless design options that allow one to express her taste in accessories like these as well. While Amish may reject modern technologies, including electricity sourced from the public grid, they selectively and strategically adopt modern developments that will not harm Amish values. In Lancaster County, the sewing machine is one such example, as it is indispensable for the Amish way of living. My host family had a decent Bernina sewing machine that was hooked up to the air pressure, but I also met many Amish women who had a state-of-the-art computerized sewing machine hooked up to a chargeable battery. Lastly, I would like to talk a little bit about their head coverings. Most women own several sets of head coverings in different conditions, from old ones to wear at home to crisp white ones for social gatherings or church. And because of the delicate material of Lancaster Amish head coverings, it is difficult to wash and keep white and stiff, but they don't give up on looking having the clean look of their coverings. To stiffen their coverings and keep their shape, they use spray adhesive, as shown here, that they can buy at a local hardware store, which is promoted as quote unquote ideal for coverings. And lastly, when I returned to Lancaster County last year after the pandemic, I noticed a significant change in Amish fashion industry. There is a growing market for ready-made head coverings. When I started field work in Lancaster County in the 19-teens, the head covering was usually made at home because they wanted the perfect fit for when they wear. They were very picky about, how the head covering fits on their head. But now some Amish women buy ready-made head coverings at local stores. At one store, a new batch of head coverings is stocked every Monday morning. So when my informants want to buy a new head covering, they make sure that they get there early on Monday morning to select the best fitted coverings from the store's inventory. When they have new ones coming, they have more options to try on. And so like these head coverings that you now available at local stores, many Amish women run small businesses for head coverings, bonnets, jackets, and overcoats from home or through local dry goods stores. The Amish apparel industry always existed, but it's thriving as the Amish population continue to grow. So to conclude, just because they are dressed plainly, it does not mean that Amish are not interested in fashion. In one way, their expression of creativity and individuality in dress may lead to deviation from the collective social order. On the other, expressing personal fashion style within the constraints indicate the affirmation of Amish identity, because that their creative statement within the strict Amish rule ultimately reinforces that very rule. So they know their boundaries, sort of. They negotiate their boundaries a little bit, but they don't cross that border. But this affirmation of Amish, although there's rule, but there's also a leeway for their expression of individuality for fashion. Although their fashion statement might be as subtle as the cuff designs, necklines, or bodice closure, or variations of fabrics, I believe that Amish women perform fashion in their own way. And thank you very much for your attention.